The reality is Pam Bondi has obfuscated for months. She first said there were no more documents to be seen. Now she's admitting and releasing hundreds of thousands of documents, but it is an incomplete release with too many redactions.
A political firestorm erupts in Washington over the release of Epstein files as lawmakers from both Republicans and Democrats accuse the Justice Department of withholding evidence and failing to meet a congressionally mandated deadline. Democratic Congressman Khanna and Republican Congressman Thomas Massie say they are now discussing holding Attorney General Pam Bondi in contempt after the Justice Department missed a Friday deadline to release all eligible Epstein-related documents.
The Justice Department's document dump this afternoon does not comply with Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act. They released one document from a New York grand jury of 119 pages, totally blacked out. This despite a federal judge ordering them to release that document. And our law requires them to explain redactions. There's not a single explanation for why that entire document was redacted. We have not seen the draft indictment that implicates other rich and powerful men who were on Epstein's rape island, who either watched the abuse of young girls or participated in the abuse of young girls and the sex trafficking. The reality is Pam Bondi has obfuscated for months. She first said there were no more documents to be seen. Now she's admitting and releasing hundreds of thousands of documents, but it is an incomplete release with too many redactions. Thomas Massie and I are exploring all options. It can be the impeachment of people at justice, inherent contempt, or referring for prosecution those who are obstructing justice. We will work with the survivors to demand the full release of these files, to demand justice for the Epstein class and accountability.
Speaking on CBS's Face the Nation, Massie said the fastest way to justice for Epstein's victims would be the use of inherent contempt against the Attorney General. He argued that Congress must act decisively if the department continues to delay disclosure. The pushback followed the partial release of thousands of Epstein files on Friday. While the Justice Department made public a large volume of material, Khanna and Massie say key documents expected under the Epstein Files Transparency Act were missing. That frustration is now spreading across Capitol Hill. On NBC's Meet the Press, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine urged caution, calling calls for impeachment premature. Kaine said Congress has other enforcement tools, including using appropriations legislation to force compliance from the Trump administration. Kaine pointed to provisions in defense funding bills that could restrict budgets if federal departments fail to release mandated information, arguing this approach would be more effective than contempt or impeachment proceedings. Khanna, however, rejected that view. He told CNN that discussions in Congress now include inherent contempt and possible impeachment, warning that any Justice Department official who obstructed justice could face prosecution either now or under a future administration. He added that only the House is required to invoke inherent contempt and said a bipartisan coalition is forming to impose daily fines on Attorney General Bondi until the remaining files are released. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche pushed back strongly. Appearing on Meet the Press, Blanche said the full files will be released, but only after careful redactions to protect Epstein's victims. He said hundreds of Justice Department lawyers are reviewing every document to remove identifying images and images as required by law.
On Friday, the Justice Department released just a fraction of the overall Epstein files. Why didn't the Justice Department meet that Friday deadline?
Good morning. So it's very simple and very clear. The statute also requires us to protect victims. And so the reason why we are still reviewing documents and still continuing our process is simply that, to protect victims. So the same individuals that are out there complaining about the lack of documents that were produced on Friday are the same individuals who apparently don't want us to protect victims. You can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned after releasing that photograph that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump. There are dozens of photos of President Trump already released to the public, seeing him with Mr. Epstein. He has said that in the 90s and early 2000s, he socialized with him. So the absurdity of us pulling down a photo, a single photo, because President Trump was in it, is laughable. And the fact that everybody's trying to act like that's the case is a reflection of their true motivation.
They say they are considering looking into the possibility of impeachment proceedings, contempt, even criminal referrals for obstruction of justice for DOJ officials. Do you take these threats seriously?
Not even a little bit. Bring it on. We are doing everything we're supposed to be doing to comply with this statute. And Congressman Massie and these other congressmen that are coming out speaking negatively about Director Patel and the Attorney General have no idea what they're talking about.
Just a week later, Maxwell was moved to a more permissive prison camp in Texas. Why was she moved just days after you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche?
So that's a Bureau of Prison Security issue that I will not talk about.
Did you have anything to do with it? Did you have anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all, I am responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So every decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Ms. Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her, and the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail and making sure they stay in jail, but also for their safety. So the answer is, I don't know whether there'll be additional prosecutions. Based on the information that we had in July, based upon the information that I'm aware of now, we are not prepared to bring charges against anybody, but we are learning new information all the time. We learned the names of additional victims as recently as Wednesday of this week. Okay, so there's new names that we didn't have before that we ran across our database to understand whether they had ever met with law enforcement or ever talked to the FBI. And so we're always investigating.
As pressure mounts, the Epstein files battle has become a high-stakes confrontation between Congress and the Justice Department, raising new questions about transparency, accountability, and justice long delayed.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That has often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out data.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.